All right, we're back with Mr. Tommy Traylen from Movie Makers in the United Kingdom and continuing the second part of this. So, my next question is when you're speaking with producers in the studios in your region, what are you hearing about the overall temperature in the United States for filming, making movies? And what are the producers in the studios in their discussions relaying to you guys about what's happening over here?
I mean, I've only had limited conversations about that recently. In the past, it may have been more, but the feedback that I do get is I mean, people love filming in the US. There's nothing wrong with it. It's where it all began.
Right.
But it's just that I think it's cheaper and easier to film um, in Europe,
Okay.
certainly the UK. So that's probably the main emphasis. It's on cost,
Right. Right. They're
which I
going to.
guess if you've got 300 crew, there's a substantial saving to be made over a 4 or 5 month shoot.
Right. Right. That's what we're hearing also is that they're being lured by the incentives that other countries are offering, and they're much more substantial than they are here in the States right now.
The tax breaks,
Yeah,
that's
the
all right.
tax breaks. And we're very fearful in the community that we could be losing a great industry that has provided for so many. Just my part of it, Teamster families around the country. We're all feeling the pinch at this point. I know here in Los Angeles, there's 6,000 members of Teamsters Local 399. And at this moment, as of today, I checked the numbers, there's 89 Group 1s on the books. So that means that for us, there's about 1,200 members that are working out of 6,000 today, as of today on a Friday, when usually, we kind of have a little bit more employment because we're at the end of the week. Most shows are on location for the end of the week, and, we get a little more members working. Okay, so out here, we were all kind of hoping that the actors and writers strike really hurt us here in Los Angeles, and the whole city was unemployed for that 8-9 month period, I believe it stretched out to be. And then we had the contract negotiations between our unions, so our IATSE members, our Teamsters, and we were all kind of holding our breath that once the negotiations were done with the unions, that it would come back and it would come back at a nice pace, as you say. But what we're finding is that that's just not presenting itself. And we're all kind of waiting for the next, holding our breath for the next kind of like, okay, maybe if we can make it to the first of the year, it'll change. But we've been holding our breath for all of these benchmarks, and I think some of us are really taking notice that nothing's presenting itself.
Yeah, I think that there has also been another reason behind that, which has affected us too. I mean, I remember speaking to someone, I think it was November last year. Once when did the strike finish? Was it
uh,
October?
October, late October, early November of last year.
And I
Yes.
remember saying, to this person was based in the US now, that hopefully it would be. We thought it would be like the boom after COVID,
Right.
and they actually said to me then, just don't be a bit surprised. A lot of streaming services haven't been making the markup they should do, and there's going to be a bit of a change. Maybe less content, higher quality content, to be made
We've
cheaper.
all learned that lesson
So
the
yeah,
hard way. Yeah.
it didn't come back with a vengeance.
No.
It's been a much slower pace.
Yeah.
It is coming back though, which is one good thing.
Right. Right. Um, I think there's been a saying in Los Angeles for this past year, since the contract negotiations, since the end of the strike, the contract it's survived till 25. So I think that's the next benchmark that we're all kind of holding our breath for. To let's just get through to 25. We'll start to get more employment, and we can continue our careers in the fashion. It might not have been pre-COVID, post-COVID, or even with the tech boom of the streamers, but we're hoping for some more work to come back to Los Angeles. If we have 6,000 members in our local, I think, at this point, if we could get half our membership working, we would feel like, we're gaining some ground again. But only time will tell with that. And I don't want to be cup half full kind of person. But I think with the change of the business model with the streamers, that we're definitely in for continued rough period, possibly even for 2025.
Yeah, and I don't think you're alone in that though, because there's so many facilities that have jumped on the bandwagon around the world.
Yeah.
We could get into a situation where there's too much availability.
Right.
That's not good for any of us in one sense.
Yeah.
But there's not going to be any ease up on the need for content, which is the bright side of that.
Right.
Probably the biggest danger, which was brought to light because of the strike, was the future threat of AI.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that could potentially put us all out of business in the future.
And that's what the strikes were for. Also, was to try to put some reins on AI and not let it drastically affect movie making and TV as a whole. So, I think my next question is, what are you hearing about just the unions in general in the United States? And have the producers expressed the contract negotiations and how they were waiting on that to come to completion before they were going to fire off United States productions? Did you hear that there was more stuff going your way in anticipation of the contract negotiations not going well?
Yeah, I can't sit here and confess to being fully briefed on that side of it, because we don't always hear. But yeah, there was certain, because of equity, didn't necessarily join forces as such. We were still functional.
Right.
Some of the US productions we were on were stopped completely. Others were allowed to creep along.
Right.
But yeah, it was definitely, from the gist that I got, a safer bet to come into the UK, because we have got, probably not to everyone's delights, pretty tough anti-strike laws.
Right.
So
Right.
there was probably never the threat, or the same level of threat, to stop every show.
Yeah, I think when a business model can't predict what's going to happen if they decide to initiate a project, they feel very uneasy, and they're not going to take the risk of firing off a project if the threat of a strike is looming, and if the rhetoric of some of the people that are our union leaders is aggressive towards the business model and the studios themselves. I feel like they're just not going to take the risk, and they're going to take it overseas at that point, because it's not such a threat to them that they would have to shut down again and lose money due to another extended work stoppage.
Yeah, you're gonna, as the producer of that production, you're gonna go with the safest bet,
Right.
for sure.
Right. I keep telling our members that the people that make these decisions in the towers at Netflix, Universal, they're going to go to the safest place they can to spend their money. And they're not going to take the risk on an aggressive workforce that threatens their business model, or even makes statements in the public sector of, just that they're greedy, they're pigs. We hear a lot of aggressive rhetoric out here, and I just don't think the decision makers are gonna take that risk when
Yeah,
it's so
well,
aggressive.
I don't think that's helpful, because I look at it that I'm blessed every job that I get as a company.
Right.
You don't know what's going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
We all want to work. We all want our share of the cake, but we are still privileged to receive a job from a production. You can't forget that.
These are good jobs.
Yeah.
These are good jobs, and a lot of people are competing for those good jobs.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not familiar with the rhetoric you're talking about, but yeah, I think you always have to tread carefully.
Yeah. I'm just, in regards to a couple of union leaders got on stage, and just the rhetoric that was coming out was so aggressive. A lot of us members were like, "Whoa!" we're grateful to be employed in this industry and make a living in this industry. And you're attacking these people that provide those jobs. I think my next question is, I had a question about above the line. Is the UK a one-stop shop at this point? I mean, from production to editing to just a one-stop shop that everything can be done.
It has been for a long
It has
time.
been for a long time.
I
Okay.
mean, you always get some, certainly in the digital world, a lot of it was. I think it came back to the US to be done, but it can all be done in the UK now.
Right.
I think it's not just the UK though. I think that's pretty much expanded out from the UK. The UK is probably second behind the US or
Mm-hmm.
even equal. Um, but there's lots of places catching up quickly.
Now, what about like above the line producers? I know a lot of actors have residents over there, but let's talk the producers. Are they losing? Are the American producers being invited over as readily as they were in the past, or are UK producers basically taking the lead on these projects and facilitating them over there?
No, I think there's an even split. I think it goes on talent more so than where you're from. But I mean, historically, and I don't really see a big change. It's an even mix.
Okay, it's about 50-50. Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you come down to the crew on the ground,
Yep.
certainly if we're doing part of the production in the UK or even changing it to territories in the UK, that you want more local staff.
Right.
There's an emphasis on cost because of hotel rooms and per diem. So yeah, I mean, if we go abroad, if we go out of the UK, they'll want a good degree of the staff to come from that local
To
area.
the local, right.
And I guess it makes it a bit of a pain for us because you're then letting you know people you're not unfamiliar with into our vehicles and operating them.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes we don't have a choice.
Right.
It's either take that deal or
Lose the
don't do it.
job. Yeah, I think we all get presented with those options sometimes, and we have to make the best choice for the company that we're representing. So
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we always want to be, certainly as a company, we don't want to be expensive. We want to save the production money. We want their next job.
right,
So we're not necessarily, even if it's against our desires, we're not going to fight it.
right. Well, this has been really informative. I got to ask, what was that gentleman's name that I worked with over there? Yeah, Rod. I don't remember his last name.
Rod McCready.
McCready. He was just a salt of the earth guy, and I hope he's still working with you. And hey, Rod, if you're watching this, I just wanted to say hi to you, and I miss you. And I had such a wonderful experience with you over there. So, but Tommy, this has been a
No
pleasure.
problem.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
taking the
Thanks,
time
Michael.
and explaining to us, what the environment is over in your neck of the woods. And I really appreciate you taking the
My
time.
pleasure. It's been too long, my friend.
Definitely. You take care. Thank you.